I'm Burden,
And I'm serious. And this is your GW2
and I
Daily.
run Burgundy.
And I'm Burgundy.
Hello, fellow addict gamers, and welcome to your GW2 Daily for October 24th, 2013. I am Burden, and alongside me is Saris, and today we are going to talk about the Necromancer changes. They're trying to do a lot of changes with the life stealing and things like that on the Necromancer, so we'll take a look at that and see if it's enough to actually make an effective and viable build. Like always, make sure you are commenting below and give us your opinions and some feedback on what we have to say during the video, and let's get a discussion going. We're also going to be doing a question of the day in each of these Guild Wars 2 dailies, so make sure you put your answer down in the comments below as well. Alright, so let's jump into some of the changes now. Again, we're only going to be talking about some of the more important ones. We're not going to be talking about every single one because there's, like with all the classes in this balance change, there has been quite a few fixes and things like that. So we're going to try to focus mostly on just the balance actual changes. So the first one would be Spectral Armor. Now this is increase the duration from 8 seconds to 9 seconds when traded with Spectral Attunement. Before it was only going to, I believe, 7 seconds, which is actually only it was going from 8 seconds, but the base length is 6 seconds, so it's actually only a 33% increase in the duration when it's supposed to be 50%, so they corrected that. Lingering Curse, which is a trait, this no longer increases the duration of blinds on Deathly Swarm, which is actually a skill on your offhand dagger, and Lingering Curse is supposed to increase the condition duration on your scepter. So they actually, I wonder how long this has been going on, but having Lingering Curse was actually increasing one of your condition durations on the offhand dagger, which is crazy. And we also have Target the Weak. This trait now properly increases damage when the target has the Torment condition. Target the Weak increases your damage by 2% per condition on the target, and it actually wasn't taking Torment into account. So if you were far enough in the tree, it is a minor trait, but if you were far enough into the tree in curses, you were actually losing 2% damage if you were putting Torment on. Another thing that they did was they adjusted the size of a couple marks you get in the traits, like the Reaper's mark created by the Mark of Revival, which is when you start to revive someone, it's going to put down a Reaper's mark. They adjusted that to a 180 radius. It used to be smaller, so they're making it consistent with the other marks. They also made the Mark of Blood, which you get from the trait Mark of Evasion. When you dodge, you put down a Mark of Blood. They increased that to a 180 radius as well, so they made that also a bit bigger. Okay, so now we can get into some conversation because I have a decent point, I think, on this one. Spectral Grasp. This skill now grants bonus life force when traded with Spectral Attunement. Now, I have a problem with Spectral Attunement as it applies to Spectral Grasp. And you can give me your opinion what you think, Saris, after this. But the thing about Spectral Grasp is I think it's a skill. The skill is fine on its own. But as Spectral Attunement is supposed to be helping your spectral skills, it's not benefiting nearly as much as your other spectral skills do. Actually, it's hardly benefiting at all. And the problem is Spectral Attunement increases it gives you a plus 5% life force when you use a spectral skill, but it also increases the duration of your spectral skills by 50%. But the problem is Spectral Grasp doesn't have a duration, it's just a cast, and that's it. It's not like Spectral Walk or Spectral, what's the other one? Spectral Armor. So it's not benefiting nearly as much, not getting that duration like the other ones are. And the thing about Spectral Grasp too is if you do not hit your target, you do not get the bonus. So you can miss with your Spectral Grasp, whether it's dodged or anything like that. And you don't get the extra life force on it. Where the Spectral Armor and Spectral Walk, you actually get the bonus life force just by using it. So what do you think about this trait? And do you think it's a problem that Spectral Attunement is hardly helping Spectral Grasp at all, Saris? Especially since it's supposed to be benefiting all of your spectral skills.
A little bit. Don't really play the Necro too much, so I haven't really formed any strong opinions on the skills. It definitely should help that skill out, but I haven't really used that skill at all myself, so I don't really have much to say on it.
Okay. I definitely think that just the plus 5% life force, which they're giving it a bonus, but you get those on the other spectral skills as well. So there's nothing. I just really don't think spectral grasp is benefiting at all from this spell. So if you are making a build and you're going to be using spectral grasp and you're looking at spectral attunement, just remember that it's not going to be benefiting that skill all that much. Although on the skill alone, I think is fine. Now, the next one, this is where we start getting into the life stealing and the life siphoning and things like that. The life siphon on the main hand dagger, which is the number 2 skill, that now correctly scales with the bloodthirst trait, which makes siphoning health more effective. So that makes your main hand dagger much more effective at stealing a life. And they finally added scaling to the vampiric traits. This includes vampiric precision, vampiric rituals, and vampiric master. Now, it doesn't just steal health, but it also does damage when it steals health. So the damage portion is off of your power, and the healing aspect of it scales off of your healing power now, which it didn't before. And they increased the base siphoning of vampiric precision, and vampiric rituals by 20%. So Sarah, what do you think of them trying to do this? Clearly, they're trying to make the life stealing on the Necromancer and just the whole siphoning life type build. They're trying to make that more viable now. Do you see anything in the traits that, or in the changes that make you more confident in a build like that?
Not so much the fact that they scale with the stats now doesn't. It's so minor that you're not actually going to notice a thing. I think the best thing that they did was just make it so that if you don't take the what was the skill that increased your life steals by 50%? I forgot its name, but they reduced that and then they just put that base into the life steals themselves. That if you don't take it, you're not as crippled. Whereas if you do take it, nothing's really changed because they just work out to pretty much the same thing as it was before.
Just not strong enough. I was messing around in PvP with the amulets, just like stacking healing power and stacking power and seeing how I can adjust these, and it's definitely not a big deal when you go to like your like vampiric precision and vampiric rituals and things like that, because maybe if you stack healing power, you're getting maybe like plus 13 or so per tick on those skills on healing, and you're sacrificing a lot of stats to actually just get that tiny extra bit. But as we go through the trait changes, there are actually a couple of traits that the healing power really does affect now, but I definitely think that I would agree that there's still not enough lifesteal on those on some of those traits, or healing power just doesn't affect it nearly enough. But let's get through some of these other changes and we can talk a little more about it. So Bloodthirst trait's bonus siphoning effectiveness was lowered from 50% to 20%. But they said there's actually no change when you take into account the other changes that they made on top of that when you combine it for the siphoning traits. The base heal on Deathly Invigoration, which heals you when you leave Death Shroud, has been increased by 100%, and it's actually about, I think when I was in my Cleric's Amulet, when I was testing this out, it's about 1,000 heal when you go out of your Death Shroud, which actually isn't too bad. It's kind of a nice heal. I mean, they did increase it by 100%, so I mean, before it was definitely a trait not getting. The Transfusion trait, which heals allies when you use Life Transfer, and this I'm a big fan of. When you use Life Transfer in Death Shroud, it now scales with healing power by 20%, whereas before it didn't scale with healing power at all. And Sarah, so I was testing this one in PvP, and this actually, with the Cleric's Amulet, you're actually healing your allies for a good 5,000 with the life transfer off of your Death Shroud. Overall, what do you think about the new changes to that? Because I mean, a 5,000 heal. Say if you're running like a minion build, and you go like minions have more health, and you try to give them a little more defense, and you're worried about your minions dying, you can pop into Death Shroud and use your life transfer to even keep up your minions as well.
So yeah, with the life transfer thing, I actually this is quite a while ago when I was first learning up my necro and got to 80. I was thinking of making a type of like a minion based build where I'd heal up my minions and just keep myself alive. So if I use that, the upgraded version of that now, I should be able to heal them up pretty good. And I'll be healing myself as well a little bit better with the upgraded lifesteals. Thankfully, they changed the minion based lifesteal now as well, so I can incorporate that to actually do some extra damage for my minions, which is what I wanted in the first place. Because if you have a lot of minions, they're going to be attacking a lot more than you ever could with your lifesteals on your own. I'd pretty much
Right.
become the tank, and then they would be the damage. It would be just a slow attrition. It wouldn't be as powerful damage as most of the damage builds out there, but the aim of it was to outlast my enemy.
Right. Kind of like how the Mez condition build is right now.
Yeah.
Good in 1v1, but it takes forever. But I did like a little preliminary test with these changes in PvP, and honestly, I was finding some success with it. But I'm gonna have to test it a lot more because there are extenuating circumstances when you're in SPvP, just random stuff. Maybe people aren't focusing on you enough, and you can't get a good feel for it.
Yeah.
But I definitely noticed an increase in the heals. I mean, especially with the minions. Like you said, they increased the minion heals, which is vampiric rituals, I believe. So your minions are doing a lot
No, it's
more
not.
healing when they hit. No, which one is it?
It's Vampire Rituals is the Wells one.
Vampiric Master. Rituals is the Wells, isn't it?
Yep.
So yeah,
Master.
it does heal more, and they were doing decent damage to my targets. So, but I would have to test it a lot more. But it's actually, this is a good place to put in our question of the day, which is do the recent Necromancer changes actually make life-stealing builds more viable? And make sure you leave a comment below with your opinion if you think that the lifesteal builds will be more viable now with the changes. Let's not Necromancer builds. The Well of Power actually they fixed an issue so that the skill will properly convert Burning Chill, Confusion, Immobilize, and Torment on allies. Now, I'm not sure to the extent that this wasn't working, but that's like, what is that? That's 5 conditions that they're saying that Well of Power had an issue of converting. So again, I don't know the extent to what they're talking about, but that's huge. If you're bringing a well to convert conditions to boons for allies, and there were 5 conditions that were having issues of not converting.
Definitely. Unfortunately, I don't know what they used to be, which doesn't really help in seeing if it was bad or not. But having the fact that if it wasn't working properly, could have been pretty bad. Definitely affected the person who was bringing those builds. They would have thought, "Oh damn, why is this shit not working?"
I think that's huge.
Yeah.
But luckily, they're fixing them. We've seen in all the classes we've gone through so far, we've seen some of these traits where it's like, wow, this really wasn't working like intended. But it's great to see them actually fixing it. And yeah, I mean, you can't leave traits like that or skills like that not working properly, because Well of Power is a great well, so you need that working the way it's supposed to be. All right, so those are the more major changes we wanted to talk about. Remember again to leave your comment below about the viability of lifesteal builds and siphoning health on necromancers, if it's a build that you're going to go with, and if you think that it'll make it more viable in the current meta, and also in PvE and World vs World as well. Did you have anything else you wanted to talk about, Sarahs?
But the Necromancer, not so much. It's not exactly one of my favorite classes. It's probably on the bottom of my most played classes list. My least played class. I do have all of them to 80. I've got a general understanding of how they work and a few of the skills, which does help a lot. But I've always found that I have other classes that fill the role of the Necro for myself already, because this one I'd leveled last. So I'm still trying to find its own unique niche to have in my little roster of characters. Necromancers,
Well,
if you've got a strong opinion on them, please give us some feedback on them so we can. It'll help us in understanding them more too, because both of us don't really play them that much.
yeah, absolutely. It's definitely my least played class as well, especially in PvP. But it reminds me of when the game first came out, and when I actually played a Necromancer in PvP. One of the things that fascinated me was the whole lifesteal aspect of it, and I wanted to do like a dagger build with the lifesteal, and unfortunately, I quickly had to abandon that thought because as I was playing it, the lifesteal just wasn't nearly strong enough to keep you to keep you going and to keep you alive. So I'm really hoping that I'm gonna mess around with it some more on the Necromancer probably later today, and I want to see exactly exactly how this lifesteal is gonna benefit the Necromancer. So again, we neither of us really have too much experience with the Necromancer, and if you have a good opinion, then make sure you're sharing that with us. Alright, is that it?
That's it.
Okay, let's close it out. Alright guys, thank you for watching our Guild Wars 2 Daily for October 24th, talking about the Necromancer changes. Make sure you are leaving a comment below telling us your opinion and getting in on the conversation, and also answering the question of the day and giving us your opinion on that as well. Make sure you guys are also subscribing and liking this video and sharing it with your friends. See you guys.
Goodbye.